Mr. Men Road Trip by Roger Hargreaves. Little Miss Fun decided it would be fun to go on a road trip. She wanted to drive her friends all across the country, so she bought an RV. Mr. Grumpy grumbled that it was too small. "We will see lots of fun things on the way," announced Little Miss Fun. Will we go to Hollywood?" asked Little Miss Star. "Yes, that will be our last stop," said Little Miss Fun. "But our first stop is New York." Little Miss Fun and her friends visited the Empire State Building. They visited the Chrysler Building, and they went up the Statue of Liberty. Everything was very tall in New York, but Mr. Dizzy did not have a good head for heights. Mr. Grumpy complained about the stairs he had to climb. Their next stop was Washington, D.C., where they saw the Washington Monument. Mr. Bump stared up at it, and it was so tall. Mr. Bump stepped back to get a better view and fell into the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. Splash! Mr. Grumpy got wet. But the next day, they found the biggest splash in America. Niagara Falls. Little Miss Naughty persuaded that Little Miss Lucky to go over the falls in a barrel. "That will be a barrel of laughs," sneered Little Miss Naughty. "It'll be fun," insisted Little Miss Naughty. Then they went to a baseball game. Mr. Strong was very good at batting. He hit the ball way up into the sky, way out of sight. Mr. Grumpy got bored. Little Miss Fun and her friends drove to Mount Rushmore. They were very impressed by the president's face as carved in stone, but not as impressed when Mr. Impossible carved Little Miss Splendid's face next to George Washington's. "Now that's what I call splendid," exclaimed Little Miss Splendid. "That's what I call a splendid waste of time," gripped Mr. Grumpy. And there were many more splendid things to see on their trip. "Look," cried Mr. Tall the next day, "it's a silver rainbow." But it was not a rainbow. It's the Gateway Arch in St. Louis. It was very wide, even wider than Mr. Tickle's extraordinary long arms he could reach. Mr. Grumpy didn't like being tickled. They went for a ride in a steamboat, walking at the steamboat. The gangplank, Mr. Bump bumped into Little Miss Fun and knocked her in the river. A little miss in the Mississippi. Mr. Grumpy got seasick. "Shouldn't we be heading west to Hollywood?" grumbled Mr. Grumpy the next day. But Little Miss Fun was not driving west. She was driving south. Then they headed to New Orleans. Mr. Noisy liked New Orleans. He liked the loudest jazz music in the street. He was the loudest trumpet player in New Orleans. Mr. Grumpy complained about the noise. Then Mr. Noisy got the loudest echo in the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon was the deepest canyon in the country. It was a very long way down to the bottom. "Be careful, Mr. Bump," called Little Miss Fun. "Don't get so close to the edge." "It's far too dangerous," moaned Mr. Grumpy, refusing to leave the RV. "Hello, hello, 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 hello." Little Miss Fun drove to the Rocky Mountains. Will this trip never ever end? Groaned Mr. Grumpy. They found a geyser called Old Faithful in Yellowstone Park. This time, Mr. Bump did get too close. The next day, they drove over the Golden Gate Bridge and to San Francisco. Mr. Greedy was very glad they caught the table car to the top of the hill. It looked like a very long walk. The view was magnificent, and it was the lobster. I don't like lobster, grumbled Mr. Grumpy. That night, they went camping in Yosemite National Park. The bears were very well behaved after little Miss Bossy had told them off. I wish I had a bed to sleep in, whined Mr. Grumpy. Cheer up, said Mr. Adventure. This is quite some adventure. Little Miss Bossy isn't impressed. What else is new? And the adventure continued when they stopped on the highway. Mr. Cool took them surfing in the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean suddenly seemed a very long way away. Mr. Cool was very good at surfing. Mr. Silly had more of a problem. And of course, Mr. Grumpy didn't like getting wet. I'm never happier than when I have something to be grumpy about, said Mr. Grumpy, and grinned. His first grin in 3,000 miles. Golly, Mr. Grumpy smiling. No boy, that's Barboop's cat. You're not Tumble Sticky, you're just a blue marker. Oh. Butts cat. Oh man. You broke the mirror, and what the... Is this... donut shape? Chicken. Nuggets! Chicken nuggets. This is stress ball. I never owned those Cokes.